Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More Shri Krishna. Have some kartals? You can. Toma bina kedoi yalo jagata samsare. Patita pavana hetu tava avatara. Mosamapatita Prabhu Napaibe Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Balokana Koro Ami Bodo Duki Doya Koro Sita Pati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai Ahaswaru Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Vata Yuga Shri Jiva Prabhu Lokanath Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas. Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Das. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More Toma Bina Ke Doyalo Jagata Samsare. My dear Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be merciful to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. O Swarup Damodar, personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya, O six Goswamis, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Jiva Goswami, O Lokanath Goswami, my beloved spiritual master, I pray for your mercy also. O Srinivasa Acharya, successor to the six Goswamis, please be merciful to me. Narottam Das always desires the company of Ramachandra Kaviraj. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Advaita Acharya Avirbhav Titi Maha Mahotsava ki jai. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai Advaita Acharya Avirbhav Titi Maha Mahotsava Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 6. The chapter is entitled The Glories of Sri Advaita Acharya. Text number 12. Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charita Sada Mangala Yanranama Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charita Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Please chant. Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Jangala Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Jagat Mangala Advaita Mangala Guna Dhama Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Yandra Nama Jagat Mangala, all auspicious for the world. Advaita, Advaita Acarya, Mangala Guna Dhama, the reservoir of all auspicious attributes. Mangala Charitra, all characteristics are auspicious. Sada, always. Mangala, auspicious. Yanranama, whose name. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Advaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Please repeat after me. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Advaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Purport. Sri Advaita Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Mahavishnu, is an Acharya or teacher. All his activities and all the other activities of Vishnu are auspicious. Anyone who can view the all-auspiciousness in the pastimes of Lord Vishnu becomes auspicious simultaneously. Therefore, since Lord Vishnu is the fountainhead of auspiciousness, anyone who is attracted by the devotional service of Lord Vishnu can render the greatest service to human society. Rejected persons of the material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal function of the living entities and as actual liberation of the living being from conditioned life become bereft of all devotional service because of their poor fund of knowledge. In the teachings of Advaita Prabhu, there is no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. Bewildered by the spell of the material energy, however, persons who could not understand that Advaita Prabhu is non-different from Vishnu wanted to follow him with their impersonal conceptions. The attempt of Advaita Prabhu to punish them is also auspicious. Lord Vishnu in his activities can bestow all good fortune directly and indirectly. In other words, being favored by Lord Vishnu and being punished by Lord Vishnu are one and the same, because all the activities of Vishnu are absolute. According to some, Mangala was another name of Advaita Prabhu. As a causal incarnation, or Lord Vishnu's incarnation for a particular occasion, he is a supply agent or ingredient in material nature. However, he is never to be considered material. All his activities are spiritual. Anyone who hears about and glorifies him becomes glorified himself, for such activities free one from all kinds of misfortune. One should not invest any material contamination or impersonalism in the Vishnu form. Everyone should try to understand the real identity of Lord Vishnu, for by such knowledge one can attain the highest stage of perfection. Om Jnanatirmandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So today we are very fortunate to be celebrating the most auspicious day of the appearance of Sri Advaita Acharya. And it is my great fortune and blessing that I can be here. I'm blessed by all of you, by your presence and association. Before I begin to speak, I seek the blessings of all the devotees present, especially His Holiness Chandrasekhar Swami Maharaj, who's also present here. And I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas that are present today. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Those that are present physically and also virtually. Yes. So, the scene is approximately 500 years ago in Navadvip in West Bengal. Navadvip was considered the seat of learning. So many scholars, so many vidyapits, so many schools, so many philosophers, so many students. Something like Boston. It was like, or Pune, or Oxford. It was a real center of learning. However, the impersonalist philosophy was totally prominent, and we could not hear the chanting of the Lord's names, and people were fully absorbed in their materialistic activities, making money, expanding their families, expanding their fortune, and mostly concerned with how to have a big marriage party for their daughters. So everyone was just covered by Maya, by illusion, and out of compassion for the living entities, Sri Advaita Acarya, who was a very prominent Brahmana at that time, and also Vishnu Tattva, and an avatar of the Supreme Lord. Simultaneously, Mahavishnu and Sadashiva, great personalities in one body. Out of compassion, he made an appeal to the Lord to descend himself in this world. Because he said, only you, my Lord, can save these people. I am not capable of doing it. No one is capable of doing it. You have to come yourself. So Advaita Acharya is also known as Gaur Ana Thakur. Gaur Ana Thakur. Like Ana means to come. So he is the personality who caused Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, to descend in this world. Gaur Ana Thakur. He appeared approximately 50 to 60 years before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya in this world. He came like advance party, like when we go out to chant in Union Square or Tompkins Square or Washington Square. Sometimes there's a competition for the spot. So we send some devotees there earlier to claim the spot. You have experience with this? It's called advance party. So sometimes devotees will come before Lord Chaitanya descended. Some came in advance to warm up the spot. And the spot was this earth planet. So Advaita Acharya was one of those great personalities who came in advance party to claim the spot, warm up the spot. Additional devotees also that came in advance of Lord Chaitanya were Lord Nityananda came before, of course Jagannath Mishra, Sachi Devi, and other great personalities. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanhir bharati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam dharma samstapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains, whenever there is a decline in irreligious principles and a corresponding rise in irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Paritranaya sadhunam, to give pleasure to my devotees. Vinashaya cha duskritam, to kill the demons. Dharma samstapanataya, to establish religious principles. I come myself. So the Lord is preparing to come. There's a rise in irreligion. Kali Yuga is on the onslaught. Kali Yuga is beginning. Kali Yuga is manifesting. And the Lord is also desiring, of course, to give pleasure to his devotees, which is the most important reason that the Lord descends. The Lord can kill the demons with an earthquake or a tsunami. The Lord can vanquish demons with a COVID epidemic, pandemic. The Lord can utilize so many means. And the Lord can establish religious principles by sending his devotees, like Srila Advaita Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, who is establishing dharma, religious principles all over the world. The most important reason the Lord descends, again, is to give pleasure to his devotees. So Advaita Acharya and the Lord have very sweet relationship, as does the Lord with all of his associates. Advaita Acharya was a disciple of Srila Madhavendra Puri, who was considered a kalpavriksha tree come from the spiritual world. And he's considered, I believe, the root or the trunk of the bhakti tree, very integral part of our sampradaya. So Madhavendra Puri, he initiated Advaita Acharya. And later, he also initiated Ishvara Puri, who became the guru of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in that sense, the guru of Lord Chaitanya was initiated by Madhavendra Puri. So he was a godbrother of Advaita Acharya. So this also flavored the relationship of Lord Chaitanya and Advaita Acharya, that Advaita Acharya would always receive so much respect from Lord Chaitanya because he was the godbrother of his guru. And we should always respect the godbrothers and the godsisters of our gurus, because they're our spiritual aunts and uncles. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita declares that, in a sense, they're non-different. The Shiksha Gurus and the Diksha Gurus are non-different. Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu was born in 1434 in Nabagram, Bengal, 1434. His father was Sri Kubera Pandit, and his mother was Srimati Naba Devi. They were originally inhabitants of Nabagram village near Srihata, but later they moved to Shantipur. And Shantipur is a famous place of Advaita Bhavan, where we celebrate every year the wonderful Shantipur festival, where ISKCON devotees go and distribute thousands and thousands of plates of prasadam to the local residents, usually Khichdi prasadam. It's a wonderful festival. So Sri Shantipur is on the bank of Ganga. And Sri Advaita Prabhu disappeared in the year 1559 at the age of 125 years. So he lived a long time. He was born in a very high-class Brahmana family, and he became known as the topmost of all the Brahmanas. And later he became married. He married Sita Thakurani, and he had many sons. And in addition to living at Shantipur, he had a home in Navadvip called Advaita Bhavan, which was very close to Srivas Angam, where Lord Chaitanya would have his 24-hour kirtans. He would have kirtan all day and kirtan all night. So Advaita Prabhu's residence was just next door, so very easily he could access the kirtans. Something like the Atlantic Avenue Harinam spot, very close to the temple, easily accessible. So Advaita Acarya, he was feeling great anxiety that the people were suffering in this world from so much materialism and lack of bhakti, lack of Krishna consciousness. So he positioned himself on the bank of the Ganges, and he began worshipping his shalagram Shila with Ganga Jal and Tulsi Patra, Tulsi leaf. And at that time also, Srila Namacharya Haridas Thakur had also advented, and they were lamenting amongst each other that the world is so materialistic. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? Advaita Acharya said, there's no hope. The only thing we can do is pray for the Lord to descend himself. And he began worshipping his shalagram every day by the bank of the Ganges with the Tulsi Patra and the Ganga Jal. And he was crying out the holy names, praying, oh my Lord, I cannot save these people myself. Please, you must descend yourself. Please come, please come, please come. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. With such heartfelt prayers, crying out to the Lord, please to descend. At that time, there was a Brahmana named Jagannath Mishra, and he had a wife named Sachi Devi, and she had become pregnant. And she was pregnant for a long time. Usually it's 9 months is the pregnancy. But she was pregnant 9 months, 10 months, 11 months, 12 months. Was it 12 months? 10 months. She was pregnant for 10 months, long time. And she was waiting, when will I deliver the baby? So she consulted her father, Nilambar Chakravarti, who was a great astrologer. And he said that the child is waiting for the most auspicious time. And this child will be a very great personality. So the time was coming, and there was a eclipse, there was a lunar eclipse, Chandra Grahan. And during the eclipse, which is considered an inauspicious, unclean time, all the people were in the Ganges to stay pure, and they were chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hari, 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 Hare, Hare, Hari, 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 Hari. And in the midst of this tumultuous roar of the holy names, Lord Chaitanya appeared. So Advaita, Acarya, Haridas Thakur, they were in ecstasy. They could understand that the Lord had come. And Sita Thakurani, Advaita Acharya's wife, she traveled on a palanquin from Shantipur to Navadvip to meet Sachi Devi, Lord Chaitanya's mother, and the small child, the little baby Nimai. So Nimai was born underneath a neem tree. Therefore his name was Nimai. He was also called Vishvambar, the maintainer of the universe. He was given that name by Nilambar Chakravarti. And he was also called Gaura Hari by the local ladies. And so these three names he had. So Sita Thakurani visited, and she brought so many gifts, rice paddy and flour and gold and jewels and cloth she bought for the small child. So Nimai grew up, and Nimai's brother, his name was Vishvarup. He had an older brother. And Vishvarup used to go and associate with Advaita Acharya and the other Vaishnavas. And when it was time for lunch, Sachi Devi would send Nimai, Nimai, go and call Vishvarup for lunch. So Nimai would go, and when he appeared there, he was so beautiful. Advaita Acharya, Vishvarup, all the Vaishnavas were stunned at how beautiful Nimai was. And Nimai, come on, Vishvarup, it's time for lunch. And he would come. And Vishvarup just loved the association of Advaita Acharya, and they would discuss philosophy, and they would discuss renunciation. And Vishvarup got so inspired that he decided to take sannyas and leave home without informing anyone. Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra were heartbroken that their older son had left home and taken sannyas. And Jagannath Mishra was so heartbroken that he left his body. And Sachi Devi, she had a feeling of bitterness in her heart that because of Advaita Acharya preaching to my son, then he left and took sannyas. So she had a little bit of a burning sensation in her heart regarding Advaita Acharya. So it came time that Lord Chaitanya was performing a Leela, and it was the Prakash Leela, and Mahaprabhu was awarding love of God to all of his devotees. And then devotees said, what about Sachi Devi? You should award love of God to her also. And then Mahaprabhu, he said, no, I cannot do that because she has offended my devotee, Advaita Acharya, because she bears this hard-heartedness within her heart because of Vishvarup leaving home, and she was blaming Advaita Acharya. So Mahaprabhu said, first of all, we should just mention, she offended Advaita Acharya, but what was her offense? It was just a small little mental offense. So there are different levels of offense against devotees. Number one, if we're not happy to see them, that's an offense. Number two, if we get angry within our mind upon them. Number three, if we speak harshly to them. Number four, if we physically assault them. And number five, if the physical assault is so extreme that we kill them. So these are the 5 different levels of Vaishnava aparad. And just because of the first one, because of some unhappiness within her heart with Advaita Acharya, then Lord Chaitanya did not give her love of God. Then Sachi Devi was saying, what can I do? What can I do? And devotees shared with her, Mahaprabhu said, you have to get the dust of the lotus feet of Advaita Acharya. So the kirtan was going on. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Advaita Acharya, he was old, but he was a great dancer. He was actually one of the principal dancers every year in Jagannath Puri when Jagannath Rath Yatra would go on. Lord Chaitanya would have 7 kirtan parties in that Jagannath Rath Yatra, and Advaita Acharya was the principal dancer in the first party. So he was a great dancer. He was dancing in ecstasy, twirling and jumping and weaving and bobbing and breaking, and all of a sudden he fell to the ground unconscious. Devotees, they encouraged Sachi Devi, Sachi Devi, Sachi Devi, now's the opportunity, now's the opportunity. Take the dust, take the dust. And Sachi Devi ran forward and took the dust from Advaita Acharya's feet. And then she was resolved of her offense. So when we offend Vaishnavas, we should take the dust from their feet and beg for their forgiveness. And hopefully they'll forgive us. And then Advaita Acharya came out of his trance, and he could understand that something had happened, but the deed had already been done. And Sachi Devi got the dust from Advaita Acharya's feet. After Lord Chaitanya's sannyas, he wanted to travel to Vrindavan. And he was misguided by his associates, and he ended up in Shantipur. He thought the Jamuna was the Ganga was Jamuna. He ended up in Shantipur on the bank of the Ganga, and there he met Sachi Devi again, and he stayed at the home of Advaita Acharya. And Advaita Acharya would feed Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda very, very sumptuously. Lord Chaitanya, as an exemplary sannyasi, he liked to eat fairly, reasonably simply. But Advaita Acharya prepared massive, massive feasts with his wife, Sita Thakurani. So one day there was this huge feast, and Mahaprabhu said, I cannot eat all this. This is too much for me. But Lord Nityananda, he was saying, what? I was fasting, and you only brought this little bit amount of food? I'm still going to be hungry. And then there was a transcendental fight between Advaita Acharya and Lord Nityananda. And Advaita Acharya called Nityananda, and who are you, an avadut? I don't even know what family you're from, and you're coming to my house? And then Lord Nityananda was saying, who am I to eat at the home of some impersonalist like you? So like this, they were playfully insulting each other. But this is the Leela. It's interesting that God jokes with God, because Lord Nityananda is Balaram, and Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. So there are all these divine tattvas, but they're having this Leela together. One time, as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, that Mahaprabhu would always offer so much respect to Advaita Acharya because he's the godbrother of his guru. But Advaita Acharya did not appreciate that because he knew that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Radha, Krishna, nahi anya. That Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna together in one body. So Advaita Acharya wanted to offer respects to Lord Chaitanya. He would try to take the dust from his feet, but Lord Chaitanya was big, strong, 7 feet tall. Ajanalambita bujo, kanakavadato, sankirtanai kapitaro, kamalaya taksho, vishvambaro dvijavaro, yuga dharma palo, vande jagat priyakaro, karuna avataro. Ajana lambita bujo, that Lord Chaitanya's lambita, long, long arms, his bujo. He's 7 feet high, has long arms that his hands go below his knees. So powerful, so long, so elongated. Ajana lambita bujo, kanakavadato, sankirtanai kapitaro. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda are the fathers of the Sankirtan movement. Kamalaya taksho, he has lotus-shaped eyes. Vishvambaro, maintainer of the universe. Dvijavaro, the best of all brahmanas. Yuga Dharma Palo, the protector of the Yuga Dharma. Vande Jagat Priyakaro, he's of the universe, he's the most priya, dear. Karunika, he's the most merciful. Karuna, causelessly merciful. Avataro, the Karuna avatar. So Mahaprabhu is Ajana Lambita Bujo. He has these long, long arms, 7 feet high. He's huge. So if someone tries to get the dust of his feet, especially Advaita Acharya was an old man, then Mahaprabhu would easily stop him. And then Mahaprabhu would get the dust of Advaita Acharya's feet. And Advaita Acharya would be in anxiety. Hi, stop. And he would try to get the dust of Mahaprabhu's feet. But Mahaprabhu would always win in this transcendental competition. Mahaprabhu would always praise him. Mahaprabhu would always glorify him. And Advaita Acharya was feeling bad that why he's glorifying me, I should be glorifying him. Why he's getting the dust from my feet, I should be getting the dust from his feet. And like this, he was in a quandary. He was in anxiety. What to do? So then he hatched a plan. He was in Shantipur, and he set up an asan outside of his home, and he was a very prominent personality. He was the most prominent Brahmana. And actually, when it was time, Advaita Acharya was performing the Pinda ceremony for his departed ancestors, and he invited all the Brahmanas. He was performing the Shrad. The Shrad means when someone has left their body, you do rituals. And as part of the Shrad, there's a Shraddha Patra, which is the plate. Patra means plate. That's like the Mahaprasad plate. Okay, so let's say the Raj Bhog plate comes out from Sri Sri Radha Govinda, and there's a great personality present in the temple. And the idea is, who's the greatest personality? We offer that plate out of respect to that personality. So on this occasion, Advaita Acharya, out of all the Brahmanas present, all the great personalities present, Advaita Acharya offered the Shraddha Patra to Srila Namacharya Haridas Thakur. Srila Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. So Srila Namacharya Haridas Thakur, he had appeared in a Mohammedan family. So everyone was shocked because it was a very traditional Smarta Brahmana culture where everything was strictly according to rituals and rules and regulations of the Vedas, and they could not understand how he could offer this plate to Haridas Thakur. But Advaita Acharya said that the Vaishnava is even higher than the Brahmana, and Haridas Thakur is a Vaishnava much more exalted than any of the other Brahmanas present. So we see the broad-mindedness of Advaita Acharya to go against the social conjectures, the social standards of that time, in order to establish the real principles of religion. That is why it's called Advaita Acharya. But on this occasion in Shantipur, he did something a little bit different. He was thinking, Lord Chaitanya is always coming and taking the dust of my feet and offering me respect. What can I do to establish our real relationship, that I am his servant? So he set up a dais, he set up an asan, he set up a vyasasan outside in a prominent place in Shantipur, and he began to speak. And since he was the most prominent Brahmana, so many hundreds of people gathered, hundreds and thousands of people gathered to hear him speak. And he began speaking from the Yoga Vashishta. He began speaking impersonalistic philosophy, that the ultimate conclusion of the Vedas is that Brahman is superior to Bhagavan, that the impersonal conception is a supreme absolute truth. When you cut a piece of paper into pieces, then the paper itself disappears. In the same way, the Lord has no form, having expanded into so many parts and parcels. So he was preaching and preaching and preaching this impersonalist philosophy, and people couldn't understand it. And what is he speaking? Usually doesn't speak like this. And the impersonalists gathered, and they were like celebrating, yes, yes, he's become one of us. He's one of us now. And then Lord Chaitanya, he approached, he heard what was going on. He couldn't believe it. Lord Chaitanya cried out, Advaita, you cried for me to come from a spiritual world to this material world to save people from the impersonalist philosophy. But now you are preaching impersonalism. What is happening? I cannot tolerate this. And Lord Chaitanya quickly approached the Vyasasan, grabbed Advaita Acharya by his chadar, pulled him from the Vyasasan, slammed him to the ground, and began beating him and beating him and beating him and beating him. And Sita Thakurani cried out, wait, wait, stop, stop, you'll kill him, you'll kill him. He's an old man, he's an old man, please stop, stop. And Lord Chaitanya continued beating him and beating him and beating him. And then Advaita Acharya began to laugh. and then Lord Chaitanya became embarrassed, because he could understand that Advaita Acharya had tricked him. And Advaita Acharya said, where is your touching of my feet now? Where is the taking of my dust now? Now we are established in our real relationship. And today my life has become successful, because today you have accepted me as your servant. Advaita Acharya ki jai. And then Mahaprabhu was very embarrassed, and he just silently went away. So Advaita Acharya, he's establishing that all of us, Jivera Surpahoy Nityara Nityadas, that all the jivas, we're eternally servants of Krishna. Advaita Acharya is Vishnu Tattva. He's not an ordinary jiva Tattva, but still, he wants to be in this position of the servant of Lord Chaitanya. So we should follow in the footsteps of Srila Advaita Acharya and pray to him on this most auspicious day of his appearance, that we can also cultivate this mood of being the servant of Lord Chaitanya and the servant of the servant of the servant of his servants. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're past the 9 a.m. mark, but as we're fasting today, maybe we can take a few minutes to have some comments from our esteemed Vaishnavas. Do we have a microphone? Mash, would you like to share something?
There's another, explanation of Advaita Charya's appearance.
Is your mic working?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound like. Oh, it is,
yeah.
but only barely.
Okay.
There's another explanation about Kubera Pandit and Naba Devi, or sometimes Laba Devi, his mother and father, and that is that there was a dream that Naba Devi had where she sees Mahavishnu and she sees Sadashiva. So Advaita Acharya is actually the combined form of both Sadashiva and Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu, of course, is the expander of all the material universes. And Sadashiva was thinking, how will the people be delivered? So he came and performed sacrifices for Mahavishnu for 700 years. I don't know what kind of years they were, but they were 700 of some kind of years. And then Mahavishnu said, my dear Sadashiva, why are you performing these austerities for me? You and I are one. And then they embraced and they decided to come in one form, and that would be Advaita Acharya. And at this time, Labha Devi was pregnant, and she could understand that maybe this would be her child, because there was this time that she and her husband had left their original home, and they were in, I believe it was Shantipur or somewhere, and then they were very happy that they would have a child. Of course, this child becomes Advaita Acharya. So Sadashiva has a consort, Rama Devi, and Sadashiva is non-different than Radha and Krishna. They are expansions. However, from Sadashiva also expands in the material world Shiva and Parvati, Shiva and Parvati that we know in the material world, so they are different. And so sometimes Advaita Acharya is also considered Shiva. So we have these various kinds of things. There's a story of when Advaita Acharya was very little. Since his father was actually the court pandit of, I forget what the king's name was, Divyashringa or something like that. I've forgotten his name. He was the court pandit, and the king had a son that was approximately the same age as Advaita. So they used to play together. And so one time, the little boy, the son of the king, he made jokes about Vaishnavas, and he, mocked them. But Advaita became so angry that when he raised his voice, the king's son went unconscious. And of course, everybody thought maybe he died or something like that. But actually, he was just unconscious. And then when both the king and Advaita Acharya's own father, Kubera Pandit, showed up on the scene, then the boy came to. And although he was the king's son, generally he was very brave, but because of the intense anger that Advaita Acharya exhibited as a small boy, at that time he was called Kamalakshana, that was another one of his names, lotus-eyed. The fact that he was so angry showed how very serious that if you mock devotees that this is not appreciated, and it was not appreciated by Advaita Charya. On another occasion, with this same friend who was the son of the king, Advaita Charya, they entered into the Durga Mandap. There was a temple for Durga Devi. And so when the two boys entered into the Durga temple, Advaita Charya refused to do any obeisances in the temple. And the boy was a little bit bewildered by that, the other boy, because, you know, it was customary. At that time, many people worshipped Shiva and worshipped his consort, Durga Devi. Durga Devi temples are everywhere. So he was a little disturbed by this. But on another occasion where he came into the temple, again, Advaita Charya, as a small boy, Kamalaksha, refused to bow, and he said, "Show me your Durga Devi." And he said it in such force, again, that the king's son fainted. So he went unconscious. And when he went unconscious, again, both Advaita Charya's father, Kubera Pandit, and Divya Shringa, both the king and his father, were called. And his father tried to explain to little Kamalakshana that, you know, we have to offer respects to the demigods. They're important. They are given by the Supreme Lord. They help manage the universe. So Kamalakshana wasn't having it. He said, "My dear father, I think you are misled." And so he told his father, Kubera Pandit, that actually I only worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What's the name of that kind of bird that only drinks water that falls? Chikora, right. So Chikora bird will only drink water not from the ground, but that falls from the sky. So in a similar way, I will only worship the Supreme. I will never worship any demigod or demigoddess. And at that very moment, the Durga deity exploded, and a voice, an disembodied voice, said, "The husband will never bow to the wife." So at that point, they could understand that, in one sense, that Advaita was more than they thought that he was, you know. So, anyway, these were some of the pastimes they had as he was a young boy. So there are others, and I'll pass the microphone to somebody else. I have to leave because I've got a Zoom call right now. So
Thank you
Hare
for
Krishna.
sharing this childhood pastimes of Advaita Acharya with us, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I wanted to ask, what is the connection between Advaita Acharya and the false ego? Sometimes devotees are saying.
Advaita
Yes.
Acharya and false ego connection? I never heard. You want to answer? His question is, what is the connection between Advaita Acharya and the false ego?
That's a good one. I don't have an immediate answer for that either.
Neither of us know. Anybody know? Do you have any clue?
Hare Krishna. I was actually going to ask a similar question. I don't know if this correlates or not, but there's a philosophy, the Advaita Vedanta. A lot of impersonalists follow this. It's actually really close to our philosophy, but it's like, as you mentioned, that the Brahman is the supreme personality, and I think they focus a lot more on reducing the false ego. And I don't know if that's connected to what you were asking.
Well,
but
we didn't have an answer to Tulsi's question, but we can try to answer your question.
Okay, so
Right?
So I guess my question was, does Advaita Acharya connect to the Advaita Vedanta teachings, or?
Your question is, what is Advaita philosophy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Dvaita, which means two. And we have Advaita, which means not two, which means one. So the philosophy that we follow, that's given to us by Srila Prabhupada and Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, is the Dvaita philosophy too. We believe that the Atma, the spirit soul, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, retain an eternal individuality. We're eternally individuals. Advaita philosophy says that ultimately the Atma and Bhagavan are one. Everything merges into Brahman. Everything becomes one. So our philosophy is Dvaita. We don't buy it that everything becomes one. We believe that Atma, the soul, and Bhagavan are eternally individuals. And this is spelled out very clearly in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 12. Natvam evaham jatuna sam, natvam neme janadipaha, natchaiva nabhavishamaha, sarve vayam ataparam. Krishna says, never was there ever a time that I did not exist. Okay? So Krishna is saying, I have always existed. Not tvam. Tvam means you. Nor you. There's always been a time when you have always existed. Never was there a time when I did not exist, and never was there a time when you did not exist. So you have always existed, Krishna has always existed. Is he talking about the body or the soul? Soul. Because the body is just showed up a few years ago in this lifetime. So this is a discussion of the soul. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings. And never will there ever be a time when any of us cease to be. So we have always existed, and we will always exist. If you will always exist, and I will always exist, Krishna says, that is an indication of individuality. You will not become me. Krishna doesn't say you will not become, doesn't say you will merge in me, because by merging and losing our identity, then we cease to exist in one sense. So we always exist, and Krishna always exists. Therefore, there's always two. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. So Krishna says, Brahman, this all pervading aspect of the Supreme, is resting on me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's an interesting example that some devotees give sometime. Let's say that a woman is pregnant with a child. After some time, the woman gives birth. Child starts growing up. And the child says, I'm fed up with this material world. It's too painful. I don't like it. I want to go back inside you. I want to become one with you again. Is it a practical solution? No. It's not practical, nor is it from the perspective of rasa or relationship. Because when the child is there with the mother, the child can express his love for the mother, and the mother can express the love for the child. The mother offers service to the child. The child offers service to the mother. The child is bringing the mother some gift. The mother is giving the child some milk. There's an exchange. There's a loving exchange between them. There are discussions. But if the child were to go back inside the womb, there'd be no longer any exchange. So therefore, the living entity and the Supreme Lord, the relationship is based on love. And love means service, and love means a loving exchange. So for love to take place, you need a lover and a beloved. So in this way, Krishna has established this reality. There's Krishna, Bhagavan, and there are these Atmas, the souls, and between them are loving exchanges. But if the soul was to merge and become one with the Supreme, then the soul would lose its identity and the loving exchanges would disappear. So which is better, love and loving exchanges, or something impersonal with no exchanges at all? Which is better? Loving exchanges. Devotees also put it in an interesting way. Would you rather be sugar or would you rather taste sugar? Yeah, so that taste means interaction and exchange. Does that clarify your question? Yeah? Tulsi, you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe because the word is the same, the name of Advaita Acarya and the philosophy Advaita Vedanta, and that's why maybe Bhakta Noah thinks there is some relation between the two.
Okay.
Means the word is the same, but it's not that, okay, his name is Advaita Acharya and let's say he started this philosophy or something like that. Advaita, yes.
So we have our great Acharya, Advaita Acharya, but we've practiced Dvaita philosophy too, dualism. Is that clear? Okay, thank you so much. Should we conclude here? Yeah? I think so. You wanted to say something? No? Then I think we can conclude. Shri Advaita Acharya Avirbhav Titi Maha Mahotsava Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.